Hello everybody and welcome back to day 24 of Everyday October. And today I'm testing out this teeny tiny little palette here. This is the I Heart Revolution Heartbreakers palette in Lucky. This is full of, obviously, greens. I'm swatching them all for you today and creating this look, so if you want to see my final thoughts on this and everything else that I'm wearing, then you just keep on watching. So I'm going to start with my base makeup today because obviously this is like an everyday makeup Monday sort of look with the swatches, so I'm going to start with my base because I'm just going to be doing something very simple, very basic on the eyeballs. So I'm going to start with the Complexion Filter Finish Illuminating Primer, and I'm just going to be quite targeted with this and just put this on like where I would put a highlight rather than just completely covering myself in it like I usually do. I'm just going to tap this over the high points and just use a little bit less than normal. So I'm going to blend this out with a brush like I always do. And obviously I've already done my skincare. There is a skincare video coming later this week, so if you want to see that you can subscribe down below. But I have already done my skincare, so my skin is looking quite glowy, but it is just from those products, I promise. I have very dry skin, so I'm adding in a lot of this glow. So that's that all blended out. Going in with the Seamless Complexion brush and the L'Oreal Skin Paradise Tinted Water Cream. I can't remember the last time I used this, and I don't know if this is going to be an okay colour for me. Can make that work. Yeah, that's not too bad, is it? So I'm just going to buff this all over the skin and then build up a little bit extra, like where I've got a bit of redness at the minute. So that's a nice thick layer of that. I needed something really nice and hydrating. My skin is so dry at the minute. So I'm going in with the Complexion Conceal and Hydrate Concealer, and I'm just going to put this just like in that inner corner area, just to get rid of the eye bags. I don't feel like I necessarily need any more like coverage over the rest of my face. My skin is doing quite well at the minute, apart from the fact that it is a bit dry. Like, I'm not having any spots or anything at the minute, which is a lovely change. So that's the concealer, highlighting the eyes. For bronzer, I'm going in with the XX Revolution Cream Bronzer in the shade Inspire, which is a really nice warm tone. I'm not doing any sort of contouring today. I'm just going to use this to nicely warm up the skin again. So I feel like in real life this looks like really nice and bronzed, but on the camera it's sort of still showing up like I'm the moon face emoji, but I think that's just like the little screen. I'm hoping it looks okay. For blush, I'm going in with the Complexion Glow Blush in the shade Too Bashful. This is a really beautiful glowy blush. Obviously we're going quite glowy on the skin today, so I'm just going to add quite a bit of this. That looks better with a bit of blush on, doesn't it? Adding a little bit of life back into my skin, and it's a really nice soft luminous glow as well. I rate these so highly, these blushes. I am obsessed with all of the colours of these that I have. So I'm going to quickly just do my brows. I'm using the Body Collection Eyebrow Definer Pencil in the shade Brown. This is like a really tiny little micro fine pencil, so I'm hoping to get like really tiny little hair-like strokes, and then that is a little bit warm, so I'm going in with the e.l.f. Wow Brow in Deep Brown, which is more of a cool tone, so I'm hoping that they'll look okay. So I'll be right back when I've got some brows on my head. Okay, so that's the brows on. I really like that combination. I feel like I got really little hair-like strokes in the front, but also filled in the rest of the brow really quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch the palette now. This is the I Heart Revolution Heartbreakers Shadow Palette in the shade Lucky, and I can't actually remember when I picked this up or why I picked this up, but I found it in my collection the other day and I thought I can definitely make an autumnal look with this. You've obviously got your greens, but there's like a transition tone, there's brighter greens, there's more neutrally tones. This looks like a minty, sort of duck eggy green. Really love that colour. So I'm going to swatch these, see how they go, and then build some sort of everyday wearable look. So none of these shades have names, but this first one is a shimmer, and in the pan that looks like it would match my nails perfectly actually, but that's coming off a little bit brighter. It's got a really nice reflect to it though. Then the second shade is a matte, which is almost like a lime green, almost yellowy. I will dip into that one again. So that looks a little bit patchy, not the most intense matte shade, but I bet that that would build up quite nicely. Then the third shade on the top row is another shimmer. This one is more of a lighter green, and that one has like a gold reflect to it. Again, these are a little bit sheer, but obviously this is a very affordable palette. Then on the middle row we have another shimmer. This one seems like a brighter light green. Ooh, and that's got a very pretty reflect to it. Then the middle shade is a matte. Oh, that swatch is a lot better. That's a lot more pigmented. And that is a really pretty, like, forest green. Matches my cardigan nicely. And then the last shade on the middle row is another shimmer. This is a very shimmer heavy palette, which, I mean, it is what it is, but I would maybe prefer a few more mattes. But that is a really pretty, let me just try and get that to catch the light, there we go. Really pretty, like forest green with like a gold undertone. I like that. Then on the bottom row we have that first matte shade that I said almost looked minty. And I will just dip into that one twice because that isn't showing up too great. Yeah, that layers up nicely. It is a pastel shade, so it will be lighter, but that's a pretty sort of minty shade. You can't really see it all that much, can you? Then the second shade on the bottom row is a brown, and that's a really useful colour to have in a greeny palette. That's looking quite patchy, but that's a really useful shade to have in a green palette so that you can darken up the outer corner without any sort of green shade. Like, it's a useful one to have. Then the last shade in the palette is another shimmer, and this is more of a vibrant bright green, and that doesn't have too much of a reflect to it, that last one. It is just sort of a green shimmer, whereas some of them have like a reflect, like that one's sort of reflecting a bit more blue and like gold. That one is just sort of green, reflecting green. So I feel like we have a great selection of shimmers here. I'm finding the mattes a little bit underwhelming, but I will try and make some sort of look just with this palette. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that matte green shade that was in the middle, and then use the shimmers that are either side of it, so the darker one on the outer corner, the lighter one on the inner corner, and then I might use like that shimmer under the eye. Like, is that a bad idea, using a shimmer under the eye? I don't know, I feel like we're quite limited because there's so many shimmers, but we'll start with that matte green on a big fluffy brush, and I'm going to lightly tap into that, tap off the fallout, and I will try and just work that into the crease. So this is definitely a very sheer formula. I mean, that was only that one dip, so I'm sure that you can build it up, and I will of course try to, but it is a very sheer pigment. So I will just try and build that colour up a little bit, just do a few layers. So that has built up a little bit. There's definitely a wash of colour across there, but that is like a couple of layers. It's not the best matte formula I've ever had. I will just even up the sides. So that has given me a nice sort of sheer wash of colour. I don't feel like I could get any sort of depth by like layering more colour because as I'm blending it out it's just turning into nothing. So I'm going to probably just use my finger and dip into that darker green shade, and I'm going to tap this onto the outer half of the lid, and that's a pretty colour. The shimmers are nice, that does match my nail varnish pretty much perfectly. Good for me. So before I blend that anymore, I'm just going to dip into the lighter green and put that on the inner corner. I will say that this darker green almost already feels hard in the pan, like it's pressed too hard, whereas this one still feels really nice and soft. So I don't know if they are like different formulas. I don't know. Yeah, they are slightly different formulas. They have different ingredients in them, so maybe that's got something to do with it, I don't know. But I'm tapping that lighter green on the inner corner. That's a really pretty shade, so I'm just tapping that over that join just to blend those two shimmers together, and then I'll go over with a brush to blend out the top edge. So I definitely feel like those shimmers are the like redeeming feature of this palette. They are so pretty, so I think I'm going to I think I might just go with that same dark green. I feel like I don't want to sway from the three that I've tried because this is looking quite good. Better than I was expecting after I swatched these. So I will go in with that darker green, again just on my finger, and I will run that along the lower lash line and join it up on the outer corner. Well, that looks really messy, doesn't it? Bear with me. So as I have like fully blended over that green on the bottom edge, it's the same green that I have on the outer corner, but I feel like where I've blended it with the brush, it's gotten rid of a load of that shimmer. I'm always a little bit worried to put a shimmer on the lower lash line because obviously I have a lot of texture under there, and I feel like I don't want to accentuate that, but I feel like that looks quite nice. And that is honestly about as much as I can say. I'm just going to dip in a little bit with the same brush into the brown just to darken up the outer corner slightly. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I've got a little bit of darkness on the outer corner, the same green under the eyes. I'm happy with how this look has turned out. It's not my favourite formula to work with, like that matte brown on the outer corner did take quite a bit of work. So I'm going in with the e.l.f. Big Mood Mascara. I will layer up a ton of this on the lashes. So that's the mascara on, and I feel like that has really finished the eyes really nicely. I'm just going to wipe off the lip balm that I had on my lips, and I'm using, of course, the Rimmel Rose Addiction lip liner. And then I'm just tapping over the centre of the lips with the Revolution Chauffeur lipstick, one of my favourite nudes. I feel like I haven't done very many like bold lip looks this month. I'll definitely have to try and squeeze one in before the end of the month. But this is the finished look. I don't even feel like I need more blush, which is very unlike me. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Let me know if you have this palette. What do you think of it? Because honestly, I'm just a little bit underwhelmed. For reference, the Earthy palette from Beauty Bay has very similar colours. I could absolutely create this exact look with this palette. This one on the outer corner, this one on the inner corner, this green, maybe a mix of these two greens for in the crease. Much better quality. The mattes in this palette are fantastic. Obviously it's like twice the size. This was, I think this was like £5, so that's like the selling point of this, I suppose. If you're wanting to try out some greens, I would maybe just go for this one, or the e.l.f., the bite-size e.l.f. hot jalapeno one. That's got some really great greens in it. This one is just fine. It's not blowing my socks off. This one is fantastic. This one blows my socks off. This one is great. So let me know what you think. Is this the sort of look that you would wear on an everyday basis? This is absolutely something that I would wear. Like, this amount of colour feels like nothing to me. Like, I would go out in this without any problems at all. So let me know what you think. Let me know what your favourite like green palette is. I have a few favourite greens, I can't lie, I do have a few favourite greens. This is not at the top of the list. So that is today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. If you are new here, you can subscribe down below. Nearly at the end of the month, so I will stop harassing you with notifications every single day. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. Bye!